In this video, I'm near the stunning backdrop of Snowdonia to test an Austin Allegro. So here we go. This is the Austin Allegro. It's a P-Reg, so I think that's a 75 or thereabouts. It's a Mark 1. It's an 1100 Deluxe. And Deluxe is actually the bottom of the range. This is a poverty spec Allegro. Never quite managed to be quite as graceful as Harris Mann's original design proposal, and I will concede the proportions are a bit odd, but you know, I quite like the styling. It may be a bit fat and dumpy, but I'm not one to slag these cars off for the way they look. I mean, it was compromised by many things on its way to production, but it's not such a bad looking car, I don't think. Not a hatchback, and it gets criticism for that, but remember in the early 70s there weren't really that many hatchbacks. Citroen GS was not a hatchback. The Alfa Romeo Alfa Sud was not a hatchback. Most of the rivals were saloons, and very much the case here. We've got some luxuries though. Look, reverse lights and an aftermarket fog light. Should we take a peek under the bonnet? I'll just let you enjoy the glory of the British Leyland roundel, the plug hole of despair. Actually, let's have a look inside first of all, if the door will open. It's a bit windy, it's blowing me all over the place, but here you go. We've got some gorgeous period correct seat covers, because yeah, it's really cold, and who wants to be sitting on brown vinyl on a day like today? But all in very good condition. Aftermarket oil gauge, but on the Deluxe, look, you even get this exposed tin work on the top of the doors. So let's jump aboard and very gratefully close that. So we've not got a fat lot going on here. 51,000 miles from new. Love this handwritten notes, 47.7 litres in old fountain pen. We've got temperature gauge and a fuel gauge, and that's about it. There's a wonderful period correct voltmeter to show you how many volts are going on. We've got a 2-speed heater fan. The radio is a later fitment that came from the Netherlands, and also the cigarette lighter is an aftermarket addition. So the only luxuries you got as standard were your 2-speed heater and a heated rear window, and a very similar light switch to tuck there for the lights, side and head. And an interesting thing I'd never noticed, this is metal. Part of the Deluxe specification is you get a tinny dashboard with a plastic cover on the front of it, which probably costs more to make than the cheaper all plastic version, but there you go. And quite good storage down here in the glove box area, which has my gloves in it. But the fire extinguisher tells you how deep that is. Very deep indeed, so quite good for storage. The mats are rubber. There are no carpets because this is a Deluxe. Being an 1100 with the A-series engine, you only have a 4-speed gearbox. If I do that to block the light, it might even focus on it. There we go. And then you can see my shoe. How artistic. We shall pop the bonnet, but we'll go and have a look in the back first of all. Now the paint is a bit patchy, but this is all original, and my friend has been using this car as a daily driver for the past 5 years. So I'm going to jump in the back. Oh yes, I shall swap cameras. So here I am sitting in the back, and it must be said, with the seat set for me, that is not overly generous. Now, I used to have an Allegro in my pre-video days, but I never got it on the road. It was a Vandenplas 1500 with the picnic tables in the back, but I don't remember it being this tight. Perhaps it's because, being a Deluxe, the seats do not adjust. They go back and forth, but you can't tilt the back of them, other than rattling them like that. We just call that heritage. But yeah, there's a reasonable amount of headroom. I mean, my head is touching, but then I'm wearing a very silly hat. Got some obligatory nodding dolls. I particularly like the stickers on the back, because my mate has managed to restore that one And it's the same friend who owns the Morris Oxford MO I drove last year at one of the events. This is his sort of winter car. The MO is for high days and holidays. Let's go and peek at the bonnet. Right, let's pop this up. There we go. And here is the A-Series engine, and an awful lot of space. To someone who's owned Minis before, this is luxurious. And the spark plugs are Larry, but those are a period correct upgrade apparently. A-Series, oh, wind affecting my gimbal. Come on gimbal, you can do it. Overpower the wind. Yeah, A-Series don't like wet with the distributor there like that. I like the little oil can here. Look, designed and manufactured, oh, in Great Britain. Oh, this poor gimbal is really struggling in the wind. And the Hydragas suspension, which I'll talk about once we're underway. Moulton Hydragas. Dr. Alex Moulton is the genius behind these. But in short, your Hydragas suspension is very much like Citroen suspension, where you've got these displacers that act as both the springs and the dampers, so there are no shock absorbers. And got some lovely old stickers down here as well, showing when it had oil changes in the past. Really quite magnificent. There's the wiper motor. Everything is exposed, everything is accessible, and all the better for it. But we've got an alternator, so that's good because that gives us power. And there we go. Austin Morris Group, part of the British Leyland Empire. And now you can see it in sunlight. And oh yeah, doesn't she look marvellous? Oh, no, the gimbal doesn't seem to think so. I'm having to act as a wind block for my gimbal. Right, that's enough gawping at this little beauty. Let's go for a drive. Right then, get the ignition on. There we go, got some warning lights. Starts absolutely beautifully. Right, we should just get off this little area. How many people will have learnt to drive in one of these cars? And yeah, we shall head out on the open road. Gorgeous, gorgeous transmission whine. Right. Third gear at 20 miles an hour. And 30 will do us for now. But yeah, so far what strikes you is, I mean, it's just so easy to drive. Nice light steering, nice light gearbox controls. It's a bit notchy, but not in a bad way. And I must admit, we have already had a quick familiarization drive in the Allegro. The owner just wanted to make sure I was comfortable with it. But I see national speed limit signs. I see a very quiet road. So I think we shall have a pop at 0 to 60. So here we go. It could take a while. This is only an 1100. But look at that, really badly broken road surface, and it's really quite composed. We are still accelerating, albeit not very much, but 60 is getting closer. There we go, I think that counts as 60. It's fair to say, if you wanted fast lane cruising, you wouldn't go for an 1100, would you? You'd go for the 1750 with a 5-speed gearbox. Well, I think the 5-speed gearbox also came on the 1500. 1500 and 1750 used the E-Series engine, which is kind of developed specifically for these cars. That's the end of the road for us, so we shall turn around. This is quite majestic view. So let's test the turning circle. Not quite good enough to get us around in one. Lift and into reverse, there we go. And because some of you will probably want to know, because some of you are obsessed as I am, we've got electric screen wash, and that's the wiper pattern. Slightly unusual, but again very 70s to have the blades parking in front of the driver like this. And there is a mist function as well, look at that. I haven't got that on my Skoda Favourite and it annoys me quite a lot. But this is, it's actually really jolly. It's a very pleasant car to drive. Very comfortable, and yeah. Moulton's suspension is a work of genius. It's interconnected front to rear, just like a Citroen 2CV. So as the front wheel hits a bump, it primes the rear. It's, yeah. It's not quite got the float of a Citroen, but it's not actually that far off. So while people love to complain about the Allegro and point it out as the worst car ever made, I mean, that's very wrong. Very wrong indeed. As is this X-Trail. What is he doing? We'll never know. But in terms of quality, I mean, there aren't too many trim rattles. The metal is of very good quality. It's very sound, very robust. And I know there were issues making these cars. It was during one of the most tumultuous eras for the British motor industry. Oh, that's a bit quick. And yeah, there were lots and lots of problems, lots of strikes. And I know there were issues in the manufacturing of these cars, because my friend used to work on the production lines. In fact, Malcolm, if you're watching, I wonder if you fitted the doors to this beauty. Because he used to tell me that every body shell had to be adjusted to fit the doors as they came down. Management, the unions, they all conspired to kind of ruin everything. So sadly, the Allegro became a symbol of everything that is wrong with the British motor industry, or everything that was wrong. There's not an awful lot of it left in British hands, certainly. But you know, while there were reliability issues, this car feels very sorted. 51,000 miles on the clock, it still feels tight. And let's face it, it's not like everyone else was churning out brilliant cars. I mean, the likes of Ford with the Escort Mark 1 and 2, they weren't remarkable cars. I don't quite understand the following for them. Also very tinny, also very prone to, you know, breaking down on occasion. Engines didn't last very long. You know, 60,000 miles was considered adequate before you'd have to kind of rebuild the engine. And then the Japanese came along and their cars just worked. Oh, gorgeous sunshine, blimey. So we're in the little town of Tywyn on the Llyn Peninsula up in North Wales. Well, this is the very south of North Wales, if you catch my meaning. Come on, Allegro coming through. Move your modern hatchbacks out of the way. See if we can find some roads where we can get a hustle on in this thing. But yeah, sadly, I don't have many memories of these cars when they were current. Yeah, my friends and families had other cars. I remember a girl called Shelley, and her dad had a Citroen GS. Or Estelle, a former girlfriend of mine when I was at primary school. Dream girlfriend, a blonde stunner, for what, 6 or 7 years old or whatever we were at the time. Her parents owned a sweet shop, and her dad had a Mark 1 Cortina that was customised with all fins and stuff. Oh, bit of a pull to the left there. Yeah, quite amusing. Why did I let that girl go? Madness. what I do remember is the gear shift, because my aunt, I used to go to her house and she had a gear shift out of an Allegro. I can't remember if it was a 4 or a 5 speed that I used to play with and pretend to drive cars. So yeah, I'm finally driving a car with a gear lever I remember from my childhood. I would put my foot on the gear lever pretending that was the clutch, but really it was also holding the gearbox and stopping it moving away from me. But the A-Series engine, it's the 1098cc version, I'm guessing probably around 50 brake horse. It's a very long stroke engine, so there's lots of torque, so it's certainly not a fussy engine. It will pull from very low revs with no bother at all. We're going to go and have a mooch around Happy Valley. Brakes need a good shove despite having the optional brake servo, and this car's history is actually quite interesting. Registered in Devon, but the first owner was an employee of Austin, and yeah, we reckon he might have called some favours in along the line, but you know, better rust proofing, and maybe his mates built it a bit better for him. But the second owner then bought it and seems to have just stuffed it in a garage and not done anything with it. So I'm just enjoying the handling there. So when my mate Josh bought it in 2013, it had only done something like 23,000 miles, I think. Certainly it wasn't many, and it's still only on 51,000 now. Oh yeah, this feels like a good road. Another interesting thing about the Allegro is it was kind of the first car developed after Alika Zagonis left the company. He was sort of eased into retirement because the Maxi had been so badly received, which is a bit harsh on Zagonis, because I think the Maxi is a car that had massive potential. It's perhaps just spoilt by not really looking that sharp, and sadly it was looks that let the Allegro down as well. As much as I like them, I'm not most people, to be fair. My tastes have always been for the more unusual. So the engineering has been done by a team that didn't include Zagonis, although it's still got his same in-sump gearbox shared with a Mini and the BMC 1100s and the Land Crabs, which makes that power unit so compact under the bonnet. There's not much width to it. And Hydragas suspension was something he was working on with Dr. Alex Moulton. And moving on from the Hydrolastic that was used on some Minis, it was used on the Land Crab and the BMC 1100. Hydragas is meant to be superior, and I think is as well. It's a bit more refined. Hydragas was used on later Maxis, the Princess, the Metro, and the last car it was used on was the MGF, which of course used Metro subframes. Yeah, this isn't really an engine for revving. That long stroke nature, it just wants to do thumping torque like this. Just bung it in top and away you go. Enjoying a ride that is, yeah, serene really. So in terms of the basics of being a car, this is actually really good. It's the most irritating thing that the British motor industry managed to take what is actually a fairly promising car and turn it into an absolute joke. I mean, it handles nicely, it goes, it stops, it's got all the controls. This is a base model, but I've still got a heater. It's thoroughly depressing, to be honest, but this could end up going so wrong. So I won't have people who say the Allegro is a terrible car. I think most people who say that have never driven one. And this is a reality, but we're doing 50 mile an hour along a twisty Welsh country road, and I'm having a great time. Whoa, crest. Oh, it's fine. You see the Hydragas handles it. Probably better than spheres on a hydraulic Citroen, to be honest. Yeah, it feels sharp, it feels planted. It's very enjoyable. So there we go. That's the Austin Allegro 1100 Deluxe, tested for hub nut. I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have, because I thought that was lovely. And it's just a reminder that you shouldn't believe the hype. The hype is often rubbish. The reality is this is actually a really well sorted little car. And yeah, I'm very pleased to have tried it. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to visit the Hubnut store before you go. Go to hubnut.org and you can find hats and other kinds of goodies and other ways of supporting Hubnut and making more videos like this possible. Thank you very much, and I shall see you in a future video. Farewell.